For millennia, the civilization of ancient Egypt stood as a beacon of stability, power, and profound spiritual devotion. Its very name evokes colossal monuments, enigmatic pharaohs, and a world where gods walked among men. This was not a fleeting empire, but an enduring testament to human ingenuity, forged over thousands of years along the fertile Nile. Continuity was paramount. The sacred past dictated the present. By the 18th dynasty, Egypt reached the zenith of its new Kingdom Splendor, an era of unparalleled wealth and influence. Thebes, known as Waset, emerged as the opulent capital, a city pulsating with life, faith, and imperial ambition. Here, the pharaoh's grandeur manifested in monumental structures dedicated to the divine, symbols of their eternal reign and cosmic connection.
At its heart lay the sprawling temple complexes of Karnak and Luxor, colossal sanctuaries built over centuries to honor Amun-Ra, king of the gods, and his sacred family. More than places of worship, they were economic powerhouses, political centers, and cosmic anchors, reflecting Egypt's intricate polytheism. A vast pantheon, Isis, Osiris, Horus, Ma'at, Thoth, Hathor, each held specific domains, guiding life's rhythms and the journey into the afterlife. The pharaoh, revered as a living god, served as the ultimate mediator between humanity and the divine, ensuring cosmic order, or Ma'at. His decrees were law, his presence a blessing. Beneath him, a powerful priesthood meticulously maintained elaborate rituals, sacrifices, and daily ceremonies that kept the gods appeased and the nation prosperous. Beneath him, a powerful priesthood meticulously maintained elaborate rituals, sacrifices, and daily ceremonies that kept the gods appeased and the nation prosperous. His decrees were law, his presence a blessing. Beneath him, a powerful priesthood meticulously maintained elaborate rituals, sacrifices, and daily ceremonies that kept the gods appeased and the nation prosperous. Their devotion was absolute, traditions etched into society, passed down through generations. Across the fertile Nile Valley, life unfolded in a vibrant mosaic, rich with purpose. Farmers tilled the black soil, benefiting from annual inundation. Craftsmen carved intricate reliefs, sculpted divine images, and forged exquisite jewelry. Craftsmen carved intricate reliefs, sculpted divine images, and forged exquisite jewelry. Merchants navigated the river, trading goods from every corner of the vast Egyptian empire. From grand vizier to humble laborer, every individual understood their place, contributing to the state's harmonious functioning. Stability was palpable, traditions immutable, woven into existence. For centuries, this intricate system ensured Egypt's prosperity and continuity. Divine order was clear, sacred rituals observed, and a multitude of gods honored with fervent devotion. It was a world of profound certainty, where the sun rose and set according to divine will, and the river brought life-giving floods. This deeply ingrained tradition and reverence formed the unshakable foundation of Egyptian identity. This profound certainty, however, faced an unprecedented challenge. Pharaoh Amenhotep IV, later Akhenaten, initiated a radical religious and artistic upheaval. His 17-year reign would irrevocably alter ancient Egypt's course. From his first appearances, Akhenaten represented a stark departure from millennia of established pharaonic iconography. Traditional Egyptian art depicted pharaohs as idealized, powerful, youthful, and masculine, embodying divine perfection. These images reinforced their cosmic role as earthly manifestations of the gods. Akhenaten shattered convention. His official portraits, statues, and reliefs revealed a startlingly different vision. Elongated skull, thin neck, drooping shoulders, pronounced abdomen, and wide hips. His face featured a long nose, full lips, almond-shaped eyes with heavy lids. These distinctive, exaggerated features sharply contrasted with traditional pharaonic portrayals. Art historians debate this dramatic shift. Was it a realistic physical depiction or a deliberate artistic choice? Many suggest it was a profound symbolic representation of his unique relationship with the Aten, the sun disk god he championed. The prevailing view, these unconventional features were a powerful visual manifesto of his revolutionary theology. By presenting himself so unorthodoxly, Akhenaten deliberately challenged Egyptian tradition's bedrock. His art was a visual assault on long-held ideals of divine kingship. He was the living embodiment of the Aten, a singular, universal deity whose light nourished all creation. This personal connection, he argued, superseded traditional, idealized forms. The art of the Amarna period, named after his new capital, Akhenaten, embraced newfound naturalism and dynamism. While Akhenaten's own depictions were highly stylized, other royal figures like Nefertiti and their daughters were rendered with greater individuality. Scenes showed the royal family in intimate settings, basking in the Aten's rays, a concept unheard of for divine royalty. This artistic revolution was inseparable from his religious revolution, the promotion of the Aten as the sole supreme deity, sidelining the powerful cult of Amun-Ra. This unprecedented style was a deliberate tool to propagate his new doctrine, creating a visual language as radical and distinct as his theology. It visually separated his reign, establishing a new order under the Aten's benevolent yet absolute gaze. His Heretics Vision thus manifested not only in theological decrees, but profoundly in stone and paint, forcing subjects to confront a new reality where their God-king was reimagined, and with him, their entire spiritual landscape.
Akhenaten's radical vision demanded a physical embodiment, a sanctuary untainted by the ancient gods and their powerful priesthoods. He needed a new capital, a pristine canvas upon which to paint his revolutionary theology. Thus, around 1346 BCE, in a dramatic break with tradition, he ordered the construction of Akhenaten, horizon of the Aten, a city rising from the desolate plains of Middle Egypt, far from the established religious and political hub of Thebes. This was no mere relocation. It was a profound act of spiritual and political declaration. The site, carefully chosen by Akhenaten himself, lay within a sweeping semicircular bay of cliffs where the rising sun, the Aten, appeared to emerge between two prominent peaks. It was an unblemished landscape, devoid of previous sacred associations, making it the ideal setting for the world's first monotheistic experiment.
The move was an audacious challenge to the millennia-old traditions of Egypt, a clear signal that the pharaoh intended to forge an entirely new order, literally from the ground up. The speed and scale of Akhenaten's construction were staggering. Thousands of laborers, artisans, and officials were mobilized, abandoning the familiar comfort of Thebes for this ambitious desert outpost. Within a few years, a sprawling metropolis emerged, designed entirely around the worship of the Aten.
Unlike the dark, enclosed sanctuaries of Amun, Akhenaten's temples were vast, open-air structures, allowing the benevolent rays of the Aten to directly illuminate their altars and worshippers. The great temple of the Aten, with its thousands of offering tables, became the heart of the city, a testament to the new god's absolute supremacy. Beyond the grand religious edifices, the city encompassed royal palaces, administrative buildings, vast residential districts for the elite and commoners alike, and a necropolis carved into the eastern cliffs. Its layout, with a main royal road connecting the northern and southern palaces, demonstrated a functional yet symbolic design, all oriented towards the daily celestial journey of the Aten. Life within Akhenaten was, in theory, consecrated to this singular deity. The royal family themselves served as the chief priests, performing daily rituals under the open sky, acting as direct intermediaries between the Aten and the Egyptian people. Amarna, as it is known today, represented more than just a capital city. It was a living manifesto. Bathed in the unyielding, uncompromising light of the single sun disk, it was a constant, tangible reminder of Akhenaten's singular will and his unique connection to the Aten. Every stone laid, every path trodden, every shadow cast by its revolutionary architecture underscored the radical transformation Akhenaten sought for Egypt.
It was a bold, solitary experiment in kingship and divinity, isolated in the vastness of the desert, glowing under its new sun. Yet this imposed perfection, this complete break from the past, harbored an inherent instability, a forced unity that would ultimately prove fragile.
The creation of Akhenaten was merely the physical manifestation of a far deeper upheaval, a cultural earthquake that shook the foundations of Egyptian society. Akhenaten's religious revolution was not just a shift in worship, it was a wholesale redefinition of art, power, and identity, enforced from the pinnacle of pharaonic authority. The most immediate and striking change appeared in the visual arts. Gone were the idealized, rigid forms that had dictated Egyptian iconography for millennia. Akhenaten promoted a startlingly naturalistic and often exaggerated style, depicting himself, Nefertiti, and their daughters with elongated skulls, slender limbs, and prominent bellies. This Amarna style broke centuries of artistic convention, presenting the royal family not as divine, impassive figures, but as participants in intimate, sun-kissed moments, celebrating the Aten. Artisans, once bound by strict canons, were challenged to embrace this fluid, expressive new aesthetic, creating portraits and reliefs that conveyed emotional depth previously unseen. Beyond the royal studios, the impact reverberated through every stratum of society. The powerful priesthoods, particularly that of Amun at Thebes, found their colossal wealth, influence, and very purpose systematically dismantled.
Their temples were shuttered, their gods decried as false, their vast estates confiscated.
Generations of sacred tradition were overthrown overnight, replaced by a singular, abstract deity worshipped through the Pharaoh himself. This wasn't merely a theological debate, it was an existential crisis for thousands of priests and their extended families, a direct assault on their livelihood and spiritual identity. For the common people, too, the change was profound and unsettling. Their lives had been interwoven with a rich tapestry of gods and goddesses, each associated with specific aspects of life, protection, and the afterlife. Festivals, rituals, and offerings to local deities provided comfort and meaning. Suddenly, these familiar anchors were ripped away. The Aten, accessible only through Akhenaten, offered a distant, impersonal divinity, devoid of the intimate connections people held with their traditional pantheon. Their mortuary beliefs, rooted in Osiris and the underworld, were undermined, casting shadows of doubt over their eternal destiny. This revolution extended to language and nomenclature. Traditional names incorporating the names of old gods were altered. Even the word gods in the plural was often avoided. The inscriptions within Amarna reflect this singular focus, presenting a unified worldview centered entirely on the Aten and its sole representative, the Pharaoh. Such sweeping, enforced transformation inevitably bred resentment and confusion.
While some undoubtedly complied for pragmatic reasons, many clung to their ancient beliefs in secret, fearing the wrath of a pharaoh who claimed direct, exclusive access to divinity. The uniformity Akhenaten sought to impose, from the grand temples to the personal amulets, represented a dramatic experiment in social engineering. It was a cultural monolith, beautiful in its singular vision, yet inherently fragile because it ignored the deep-rooted spiritual needs and traditions of a complex civilization. The world had indeed been turned upside down, and the tremors of this earthquake would continue long after Akhenaten himself faded, leaving a legacy of unprecedented disruption and a yearning for the old ways. The tremors of Akhenaten's cultural earthquake continued, but not in the direction he intended. With his death, the fragile edifice of his singular vision began to crumble. The swift collapse of the Amarna experiment was not merely a passive abandonment. It was a deliberate, systematic campaign of historical annihilation, orchestrated by those who sought to restore the ancient order and reclaim Egypt's soul from what they deemed a heretical aberration. The immediate aftermath was a period of intense political maneuvering and religious reaction. Horemheb, the last general of Akhenaten's era, and a former vizier, rose to power, both instrumental in reversing the Amarna policies. But it was the young Tutankhamun, Akhenaten's son, or possibly half-brother, guided by powerful regents, who began the official restoration. His very name, originally Tutankhaten, meaning living image of the Aten, was changed to Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, symbolizing the return to the old gods. The systematic erasure began in earnest. Akhenaten, the shimmering city of the Aten, was abandoned. Its grand temples and palaces, once vibrant with Akhenaten's revolutionary art, were systematically dismantled, their stone blocks repurposed for new constructions in Thebes and Memphis. It wasn't enough to leave Amarna to the sands. Its very fabric had to be unmade. Gangs of workmen, under strict command, swarmed monuments across Egypt, chiseling away the names and images of Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and the Aten. Reliefs depicting the sun disk were defaced, cartouches containing the great heretics' names meticulously gouged out. Where entire statues of Akhenaten and his family once stood, they were toppled, smashed, and buried, their fragments scattered to oblivion. This campaign was more than mere vandalism. It was an act of damnatio memoriae, a condemnation of memory. Akhenaten was not to be remembered as a pharaoh, but as the enemy, that criminal. His reign struck from the king lists, his very existence denied. The names of his successors, Horemheb and Ai, were later backdated to follow Amenhotep III, leapfrogging Akhenaten entirely, as if he had never been. The powerful priesthood of Amun, once stripped of its authority and wealth, was swiftly reinstated, its temples rebuilt and endowed with even greater riches.
The powerful priesthood of Amun, once stripped of its authority and wealth, was swiftly reinstated, its temples rebuilt and endowed with even greater riches. Their traditional festivals, which had fallen silent under Akhenaten's reign, roared back to life, reclaiming their central role in Egyptian identity. The goal was profound: to expunge the memory of the Amarna period so thoroughly that future generations would never know it existed. This violent ideological cleansing sought to re-establish cosmic order, appease the angered gods, and legitimize the new dynasties by severing all ties to the disgraced Pharaoh. But this violent ideological cleansing sought to re-establish cosmic order, appease the angered gods, and legitimize the new dynasties by severing all ties to the disgraced Pharaoh. Yet despite the zealous efforts, history is rarely so easily contained. Fragments of the forbidden reign remained, buried beneath desert sands, hidden in obscure tombs, or ingeniously concealed within later constructions, silent, enduring testaments to a pharaoh who dared to defy eternity.
Despite the zealous efforts of succeeding pharaohs and priests to obliterate Akhenaten's memory, history, much like the desert sands, rarely yields all its secrets. For millennia, the city of Akhenaten lay buried, a ghostly testament to a forgotten age, its existence known only through tantalizing, often defaced fragments in royal annals and temple reliefs. It was not until the 19th century that whispers of this lost city began to stir from the dust. The true revelation came with the dawn of systematic archaeology. In the late 1880s, local villagers uncovered a cache of clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform at a site now known as Tel El Amarna. These were the famed Amarna letters, a diplomatic archive from the New Kingdom, revealing correspondence between the Egyptian pharaohs, including Akhenaten, and other ancient Near Eastern rulers. This unexpected treasure trove offered the first tangible proof of a distinct pharaonic capital and a reign deliberately excised from official records. The British Egyptologist Sir Flinders Petrie was among the first to undertake major excavations at Amarna in 1891-92. His meticulous work began to unearth the sprawling urban plan of Akhenaten, revealing its palaces, administrative buildings, and workshops. He meticulously documented the unique architectural styles, the open-air temples dedicated to the Aten, and the residential quarters where ordinary citizens lived under the direct gaze of their revolutionary pharaoh.
Petrie's finds provided the foundational understanding of Amarna as more than just a fleeting anomaly, but a fully realized, albeit short-lived, imperial capital. Subsequent expeditions, notably by the German Oriental Society and later by the Egypt Exploration Society, continued to peel back the layers of sand. Among the most iconic discoveries was the bust of Nefertiti, unearthed in 1912 from the workshop of the sculptor Thutmose. This stunning, lifelike portrait, with its elongated neck and serene expression, epitomized the radical departure of Amarna art from the stiff, idealized conventions of traditional Egyptian iconography. It was a tangible link to the personal, almost intimate style favored by Akhenaten. Further excavations uncovered vast quantities of unique Amarna-era artifacts, fragmented statues of Akhenaten and his family, depicting their distinctive, almost alien physical characteristics, pottery shards bearing the Aten sun disk, and countless everyday objects that painted a vivid picture of life within this monotheistic city. Each fragment, painstakingly reassembled, offered profound insights into a culture utterly transformed by a single man's vision. These archaeological endeavors didn't just uncover ruins, they resurrected an entire epoch. They pieced together the narrative of a pharaoh whose ambition threatened to reshape the very cosmos of ancient Egypt.
The Amarna period, once a void in the historical record, now stood revealed as a crucial, albeit controversial, chapter. The diligent work of generations of archaeologists demonstrated that even the most determined efforts at historical suppression can ultimately fail. Beneath the shifting sands and the carefully chiseled erasures, the ghostly remnants of Akhenaten's reign endured, waiting patiently to tell their extraordinary tale, a story whose echoes would reverberate far beyond its own short lifespan.
Despite the fervent attempts to expunge Akhenaten from history, the indelible mark of his reign proved more resilient than his detractors anticipated. Though his name was chiseled from monuments and his city abandoned, the seeds of his revolution, particularly in art and perhaps even thought, found subtle ways to persist, echoing through subsequent Egyptian culture. The most poignant manifestation of this enduring legacy lies in the pharaoh who succeeded him, his son, Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, born Tutankhaten, initially bore a name honoring the Aten. His eventual reversal of his father's policies, restoring the traditional gods and moving the capital back to Thebes, is often seen as a complete rejection. Yet, to view it as a total repudiation would miss history's nuances. The artists who crafted the treasures of Tutankhamun's tomb, including his iconic golden burial mask, were trained during the Amarna period. They had absorbed the naturalistic tendencies, the fluidity of form, and the newfound intimacy in royal portraiture that characterized Akhenaten's artistic revolution. Observe the masterful craftsmanship of Tutankhamun's golden mask. While adhering to traditional iconography of a deified pharaoh, one can discern a subtly softer, more humanistic approach in the rendering of his youthful features compared to the rigid, idealized visages of earlier dynasties. The delicate curves, the hint of an individual behind the divine facade, are echoes of the Amarna style,
Even the vibrant use of color and the dynamism found in Tutankhamun's tomb paintings suggest a departure from the static compositions that preceded Akhenaten, showcasing a freedom of expression unleashed, however briefly, by the Atenist experiment. Beyond art, the very upheaval Akhenaten orchestrated left a deep psychological imprint. For centuries, Egypt's stability had been intertwined with its pantheon's supremacy. Akhenaten shattered this millennia-old belief system. While the old order was hastily reinstated, the very possibility of such a radical departure had been demonstrated. The priests, nobility, and perhaps even common people had glimpsed a different spiritual landscape, one where a single deity commanded universal adoration. This brief, audacious theological rebellion might have subtly altered the trajectory of religious thought, even if overtly suppressed. The subsequent rulers of the 19th dynasty, particularly Horemheb and the Ramessides, meticulously sought to erase Akhenaten from official memory, appropriating his monuments and achievements. Yet, in their urgency to bury the past, they inadvertently confirmed its disruptive power. The extreme measures taken to obliterate his name underscore his profound impact. A shadow, however faint, of his singular vision lingered, a testament to the fact that ideas, once unleashed, are difficult to fully contain. Thus, when we gaze upon the serene, majestic mask of Tutankhamun, we are not just seeing the face of a boy king who restored tradition. We are looking into the eyes of a pharaoh whose very existence and artistic heritage are inextricably linked to the audacious experiment of his father. Akhenaten's echo is not a loud proclamation, but a whispered suggestion, a subtle curve in a sculpted face, a newfound vibrancy in a painted scene, reminding us that even the most thoroughly suppressed revolutions can leave an enduring, transformative legacy. It compels us to ask, what other subtle echoes of forgotten histories might we be overlooking, waiting to be rediscovered and understood?